Hey everyone, today I wanted to go over some new and interesting news for Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak, and that is the fact that Capcom went interestingly and confirmed one of the upcoming brand new event quests that we are going to be able to get access to for free title update number 3, something that they usually haven't necessarily done before. And this is because it's directly tied to the most recent video they put up for the developer challenge. If you remember, a couple of weeks back, they took to social media to confirm that they would be bringing back the developer challenge video series as developers take on one of the featured event quests that we are having for free title update number 2. At the time, they confirmed that the developers' research and development, if you will, would take to basically playing whatever weapon players decided to vote on for the Shagaru Magala Malzeno event quest that we just recently got this past week. Players were able to vote between the longsword, the gun lance, the switch axe, and the bow, and of course ultimately the gun lance won. Soon after, of course, we got all the details regarding the weapon upgrades for free title update number 3, and where gun lance will be a featured weapon as it gets a couple of brand new updates. So fast forward to just earlier today, the developers finally went ahead and dropped the developer challenge video as they took on the latest event quest with the aforementioned Malzeno and Shagaru Magala using the gun lance. And based on some of the reactions that I saw on social media regarding their gameplay clip, which is something that you should be seeing already, it was extremely positive. Now there is still the question of if they are using the current build of the gun lance or if they're still using, or they're going to start using the free title update number 3 upgrades that we are expecting. That's still not necessarily been fully explained, and of course they don't necessarily explain that, but alas, regardless, the gameplay looks relatively impressive, and I did see some relatively funny posts where people were surprised that the developers actually knew how to play the weapon, since they never necessarily talk about it. Which, I mean, of course they know how to play the weapon, they literally designed it. So all of that leads us to their most recent social media post, where they essentially confirm that not just on the North American Monster Hunter Twitter account, but also on the Japanese Monster Hunter Twitter account and the Asian Capcom Twitter account, you will be able to have yet another vote, but this time for a brand new event quest that will be taking place next month, which of course means it's going to be fully on a free title update number 3 event quest. The post reads as follows: the next Sunbreak developer challenge will be released next month and feature a dual threat event quest against a Furious Rajang and the Crimson Glow Valstrax. Get your votes ready for which weapon to use. They basically went ahead and posted the same thing on the Asian Capcom Twitter account and of course the Japanese Monster Hunter Twitter account. So every single one of these 3 accounts are going to have, hopefully this time, a different outcome. People will be able to choose one different weapon so we can get multiple different developer challenge videos instead of just getting the same one posted in every single one of the accounts, which was what ended up happening this time around with the gun lance. The developers will have the choice between sword and shield, hammer, insect glaive, and light bowgun. Personally, I'm gonna vote sword and shield just because I want to see them use that, and hopefully that gets a little bit of a buff as well. If that is the ongoing trend, then let's make sure that the sword and shield gets some sort of love. A light bowgun would be great, but I see plenty of gameplay with the light bowgun as I play that weapon myself, so I don't necessarily need to see the developers play it. But more interestingly, of course, and I'm kind of burying the lead here, is the fact that we now have a confirmation of the first free title update number 3 event quest. Not necessarily the first one in order, but one of the ones that they are going to be featuring. Remember that as of recently, dual event threads have been something that they really have been touting. These are relatively high difficult monsters that have been kind of put together into one specific place to be fought together. I don't necessarily know what they are implying with a Furious Rajang and a Crimson Glow Valstrax. Would that mean that they're fighting in, just one of the normal maps, or perhaps one of the upcoming new arenas? We don't necessarily know. I am going to be talking about the whole wave of recent details found regarding monsters and stuff for free title update number 3, but I'm also waiting, and I don't necessarily want to overstep in Capcom's shoes since we are expecting to see more details early next week, as we presume a presentation is relatively near, so more details for that specific update should be released within the next week or so. So we are also expecting to go over plenty of details that have been found, and there is a potential of a brand new arena there, which presumably where this brand new event quest could potentially be housed as well. Now, all in all, I'm pretty excited to see them actually continue this series, the Developer Challenge series, as it not only gives players a little bit of a voice as to what developers should be officially playing or getting their hands on to play, and potentially, you know, take a closer look at, since a lot of people don't necessarily expect other developers to play all the weapons. They think they just simply play the longsword because it's the most popular one. And they completely ignore the fact, like I went over multiple times before in different developer interviews, that developers usually focus on weapons that are relatively popular because those are the ones that the players are actually playing. It's not that they don't actually balance other weapons, so they don't use other weapons, but they mostly pay attention to the most popular weapons being used based on player like actual numbers. So light bow guns, a bow, heavy bow gun, sword and shield are relative dual blades, if you will, as well. You could switch axe, are relatively high usage weapons, so those are the ones that gets the most amount of love. The weapons that are least played, you know, hammer, lance, gun lance, sometimes. For a lot of people who claim to like the gun lance, they don't necessarily play it all that much when it comes to online. The numbers literally say so. So, you know, it's one of those weapons that don't necessarily get all the love or the attention or all the balance changes because the developers aren't necessarily seeing a lot of people play that weapon. It's not because they love the longsword so much. It's not because they love the bow and the heavy bow gun and stuff like that, or light bow gun all that much. It's because it's literally the weapons that most people use. That is how balancing actually works. This is literally comes out of their very own lips. That is how they've described it in the past. So these type of developer challenge not only get the developers to actually play a weapon that is not necessarily used all that often. You know, like I said, this is why I want to see them use the sword and shield for this upcoming developer challenge. But more importantly, hopefully, you know, they get more updates for those weapons that don't necessarily get all the love. That certainly should. I know it's hard to balance things. I know a lot of people get really upset regarding that, but you know, hopefully as they play more of these weapons and they show us their gameplay, which, like I said, the gun lance gameplay that they did here was pretty top tier stuff. So hopefully that continues. But that's about all the information that I have for you guys today. Pretty excited to see a brand new wave of event quest. Whatever the rewards are going to be, I'm sure it's going to be titles and people are going to be upset, but you know, it is what it is. If you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.